With your art, I'm curious about your process. What comes first, the color or the ink?
The color. I start with the photo that I take, and then I sketch it out and figure out the composition. And then if it's a marker piece, I put the markers underneath. So there's like a bunch of, like when you see it, I usually post like in process, like on Instagram or something. You see like a lot of just like random like color fields, and let that dry, and then I go over it with pen and ink. The real, I think, moment for me of art making is when the pen hits the paper. That's when I'm actually making the work. Most of the other stuff is it's like preparatory, sort of like exercise, like trying to figure out what's gonna work, and now I'm gonna make it with the pen and ink, which solidifies everything.
How did you come to that process of almost, in your, I guess, value creation of, it looks like weaving or something like that? How did you kind of evolve to that state?
It started from graduate school. It started from undergrad when you do the figure drawing foundation course. And what you obviously do is you break it up into pieces. You break up a face and a body into measurable pieces, because that's how you can kind of accurately portray it. And I took it to a very perverse level where I decided to just go all out and make it into this sort of landscape. And I didn't really initially think about it as hair or muscle or any of those things. I thought about it as a landscape that I wanted to sort of explore. A lot of early inspirations for the style were artists like Francis Bacon and Lucian Freud, who really break up the face in a way that looks like you're looking at a country, like you're looking at a place. And I thought, wouldn't it be fascinating to portray a portrait, or have a portrait be a place, and that's why there's a lack of a background, and it started from that. There didn't need to be a background because there's so much information already there. So over time, it's become more organic, it's become a little bit more sinewy, kind of representing, like you said, hair, weave-like kind of textures and forms, and it just kind of evolved. To me, it's a language now. It's something that that's how I work, communicate with people. I don't really see it as something very specific. It's a means for me to, I guess, tell a story, and hopefully people kind of respond to it.
Yes, I see that the eyes are very prominent, and it just shouts out to me like the eyes are the mirror to the soul. When I see your paintings there. There's more than a statement, that's all.
No, I mean, yeah, it's definitely, like I mentioned earlier, like it's an access point, the eyes.
Okay.
I mean, when you meet people, I hope that you look them in the eyes. I don't know, some people might look them in other places. But you tend to look at them in the eye, and you engage with them in a way, and it is something like, it makes it personable. It makes it less like, oh, I'm getting to know you because I'm looking at you directly and I'm acknowledging your presence. Sure. And that's something that I like to translate into the work.
Like two-way communication.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I find it fascinating between it's sort of the difference between looking at these from a distance and then coming right up to them. Because from a distance, I see this beautiful spectrum of light over the skin, and almost like a disco or something. I come up closer and I see, oh, it's sinews, it's muscle, it's tissue. The skin has fallen away to this wonderful texture and these colors. And it's just a real interesting play between, and also then that becomes for me metaphoric in a sense. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if that's how you were sort of viewing it.
It's interesting with the color pieces, because that was a very recent thing. Because up to that point, it was a lot of monochromatic work. I think that really, one of the inclusions of color really opened up the dialogue of the work. I feel like people could really, there was different ways of viewing it, as opposed to just having it be much more monochromatic. And I definitely, I'm open to different interpretations of the work. I don't really see it as one thing. I know what it is for me when I'm working on it and the process of it, but then when someone else comes in and brings their own experience, it's exciting for me. I kind of want to hear what it is they have to say. There was a young man in here last night who was just having a moment. He had a moment. And he came up to me like 3 times with like a different read of the work. And I was excited, it was really fun. And I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to people seeing something that I might not see. Because then, I mean, to be honest, when it leaves my studio, as scary as it is for me, I need to accept that it's now no longer in my sort of like control, conceptually or otherwise. Like I know that it's going to be in a public realm, and the language of how people are going to discuss it is very different. But it's fun. I mean, I used to be pretty territorial about it. I was like, no, it's not muscle. I don't know what you're saying. But then now I'm just like, no, it's whatever you want it to be, because then it's much more open and expansive. So yeah.
Yes, I was just wondering, you say you're from Africa, do you think you have more advantages here more so than Africa with your artwork?
I don't really know about the art world so much collectively in Africa. I know in Nigeria, for instance, there's a lot of artists who are very successful and, live and work and they make a living off of being an artist there. I don't really know. I mean, it's difficult to kind of compare because it's two very different. I mean, just within the continent itself, there's so many disparate cultures and so many different ways of living a life, let alone being an artist there. But in terms of being in the U.S., and I know that the experience here and the history here, is very different. So I think what they deal with and what we might deal with are slightly different. I don't really know if there's an advantage on either side. I think anyone who kind of risks being an artist it's a big deal, but at the same time, I think you can't take yourself too seriously because we kind of live in a world where you can't do that.
Okay.
I don't know. I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of artists who are they kind of view that the same way. They're, I consider them icons, titans of the art world or art history, and they understand that at the end of the day, you can't really take yourself too seriously. You know that the work has to be the one that you take that's your most serious side, and then you, as an artist, are just kind of going through your experience and trying to figure things out from a business or a creative side. But I hope that my work kind of speaks to a variety of people, and I hope it lasts a little while, and then I can just kind of do my thing. But it's scary. I mean, we were in Nigeria with my family in 2011, 2012, and saw some amazing artists. I mean, just incredible, talented people. And I wish that there was more access, from this side to see that. But I mean, it's really what they want. I think every artist wants different things.
Okay, thanks.
Have you always been working with the figure?
I'm sorry?
Have you always been working with the figure?
Most of the time, like with the exclusion of the grapes and the foliage recently, I'm attracted to people. I'm attracted to the stories and like I said, how you can make a portrait of place is something that fascinates me. You can't just look at it purely as a representational thing. You can break it down. You can kind of, usurp certain ideas of what people think portraiture can mean or can be. So I don't really see it in a limited way. I feel like I look at portraiture in a very expansive way. So I love working with a figure. I've always worked with it, but who knows? I might be doing still lifes in like 20 years.
Well, it was interesting because we were talking about landscape and figurative work, so I could easily, it is broad.
Right. No, absolutely. I don't really, I used to get a lot of flack when I first started doing this because a lot of teachers of mine throwing shade on them right now, doing so much shade. But they were like, I just don't get it. It's just so weird and different. And why pen? What's going on? And I'm like, because I want to be cool and different. Because I have something to say. But now it's really just, especially with younger people, when they see my work, they're like, I didn't know you could do that. And I'm like, yes, that's good. I'm good that you saw that because I didn't have that as a kid. I always thought you had to do very traditional materials and very traditional works. So to have kids be like, I didn't know you could draw with a pen. I'm like, good, go and draw. Just don't draw on the wall. But just, do whatever you want. Like, don't look at one thing a certain way. You do whatever you want with whatever tool you choose.
Anything else?
You talked about Alabama before. Did you have any ideas of Indiana before you came here? And then what do you think of it after being here?
It's been such a short visit. And the snow just kind of went crazy yesterday. I didn't really know what was going to happen. It's been great. great. I mean, there's familiarity. I think there's a lot of things that I can recognize coming from Alabama. Like that Midwestern swagger that I was talking about with Shante. It's similar to the Southern swagger as well. But in terms of like what I thought about it, I don't know. I was just excited. I wanted to come to a town that wasn't New York or Miami. I wanted to come to a place where people, just the average person, just wanted to see different types of work. I think oftentimes people prioritize these monolithic cities like LA and New York and stuff, and they're great and they're pilgrimage spots. But it's nice to come to places like Indianapolis and have a conversation where people wouldn't otherwise want to have a conversation. People need to see art in a variety of contexts. It doesn't have to be limited to something that's flashy or predictable. It's nice to be in a place like Indianapolis where people can just, you wouldn't expect to see this, but that's kind of the point. Like, I want that to happen here. I want to have a kind of dialogue in a place where there's not a lot of expectations about that. So, no, I didn't really have any preconceived notions. I just thought a lot of people were going to be like Shante. It's like really cool. So.
What's some of your inspiration artistically?
I mentioned earlier comics, a lot of comics. I'm like kind of a comic book nerd. And when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of Japanese anime. I was that kid,
I can see it.
I was really, and I loved just kind of illustration. I was really into. I wasn't thinking fine art, I guess is what I'm trying to say, which is a very specific way of looking at work. I was thinking, very accessible, illustration work, advertising, things that you would see in magazines, things like that. It wasn't until I started studying in school that I was looking at, John Singer Sargent, for instance. Or more fine art, art historical canons that became a part of my education. But I always loved, the graphic style, the illustrative style, and I like it. I like it a lot. I'm attracted to that. So my inspiration mostly comes from that. But it's a variety of things, really. Poetry, variety of literature, music videos, notwithstanding some of the current music videos, but a lot of stuff from like the 80s and the 90s I really like. So yeah, some kind of stuff.
What was your big break, or are there big breaks in the life of an artist? How did you know that you like?
I feel like this is my big break. I don't know about you guys. My big break. I did a museum show. Are you kidding me? It's like the best thing ever. I never would have thought anyone would invite me to a museum show ever. I was like, that to me is my big break. I just been very fortunate to have a lot of people support it and just see the work and feel something for it. I mean, for a very long time, it's a solitary life. You spend a lot of time alone in the studio, and you don't know people can think. But and then when it goes out into the world, you're just so excited to kind of talk to people about it. You're also just excited to have human contact because you've been isolated for so long. But I think for me, I'm just so grateful that people kind of come up and they see the work and they're just, wow, I've never seen that before, and they're excited. They're willing to engage with it and talk about it. But in terms of big break, it's just been constant. I'm just shocked at anyone, even online. It's like, I like your stuff. And I'm like, really? It's like, great, that's really, I'm just mad grateful.
How long does it take to do one piece?
Oh, girl.
I'm asking any more questions, I promise.
It depends on the thing. This series with the hair, I think I did very quickly, and I remember my parents coming. Oh gosh, that one I almost threw it away. Actually, it's so
the afro kind of the short.
Oh, that one was on the early stuff. I think that one was not. It didn't take that long. I think that one I did in a day. Both of those.
Okay.
Just because they don't have color, they're not as layered. But like that one behind you guys of my baby brother, I had a moment. Mom was throwing some slight shade yesterday. She's like, I remember when you came home with that piece. I didn't like it very much. I just wanted to throw it away.